Hi guys, welcome back to the class. My name is Bukola. Today I'll be sharing with us how to make a beautiful shawl collar dress. So I have here with me my fabric and my lining. So the next thing I will go ahead and arrange my fabric. I meant to cut the front and the back together, but I won't do that because I want to use the fluffy part of the dress, the fabric. So now I draw my guideline. So on the guideline I will place back my tape measure, then mark 1.5 inches downward and connect it with my long ruler. So after done with that, now the next thing you do, you place back your tape measure, then you mark your vertical measurement. So I will start from my armhole, which is going to set, and my waistline. So after done with that, now the next thing, now you place back your tape measure that way, mark your shoulder to shoulder divided by 2, then mark 1/4 of the same thing you mark on your shoulder line, mark it on your chest line. Yes, then now place back your tape measure, then mark your box 1/4 of your bust circumference measurement. So I mark 1 inch for my shoulder slant, then connect it towards my neck width, as you can see. So now the next thing to do now is to mark my neck width. I'll be using 2 inches for my neck width. Then for the neck depth, I will be using 1 inch. 1 inch is okay for the back. So from that chest line, I place my tape measure upward, then I mark 2.5 inches. Then on that point, I came inward with half of an inch, then connect it to my shoulder line. That way, in order to determine my armhole. On my waistline, I mark 1/4 of my waist circumference measurement. Then I include 1 inch for my dart intake, then 2 inches for my sewing allowance, which I also mark 2 inches for my bust circumference line. So after done with that, you extend your line. So the next thing we're going to do now, on that waistline, place back your tape measure, mark 1/2 of an inch out of that place, then connect it to the upper side of your dress. That way, that is going to be our center back. So after done with that, dear friends, you connect that neck, you extend it towards that 1.5 inches. So after done with that, I took half of an inch from my shoulder slant for my shoulders allowance. So then I cut. So after done cut now, at this down part of my dress now, I will be marking half of an inch, then slant my hands towards my measurement, won't pass my measurement, then I will be cutting it out. Yes, it's one of the methods to eliminate bulge at the back of your dress. So as you can see, I just marked, then you trim it out. That way, it must not pass your measurements. So after done with that, now I will rearrange my fabric like this. Then I will be cutting the front. So I meant to cut it together because I want to use this pattern. I want this pattern to be the upper side of my fabric. That is the same thing. So I will mark my vertical measurement. The same thing we did for the back is also the same thing we are going to do for the front. So after mark the down parts, that way I have marked my shoulder line. So then you place back your tape measure, you mark 3.5 inches downward. Just mark it downwards that way. After done marking it now, place back your ruler, then connect it together. I mark 3.5 inches downwards. So that is going to be the parts to lap it over each other. So then I marked my shoulder to shoulder measurements, then mark my neck width of 2 inches, then mark my shoulder slant of 1 inch, then connect it with half of an inch because I have taken half of an inch for my sewing allowance together. So I now place back my tape measure, mark my shoulder to shoulder measurement and 1/4 of my bust circumference together that way, as you can see. The same thing that we did at the back pieces is same thing we are doing here. So the back and the front panel, the only thing that different is that I added 3 inches to the front, because the front is going to be a lapping style. So guys, after done with that, I have done with this now. So the next thing, place back my tape measure at the front. Then I will be marking down 5.5 inches for our neck depth. So after done with that, now you connect the 3 points together from my neckline to my neck length, then from the neck length to my waistline. So after done with that, now the next thing, I go ahead and cut. You have to be carefully cut that area, because that is going to be our neck. So after done, guys, this is what I got. So after done with that, you place back your tape measure on that 3 inches line. Then you mark another 3.5 inches inward for your dart. So this is what we got at the end of the day. That is for the front. So after done with that, I cut pieces of fabric out for my that, and I mark my cap height, my elbow, and my wrist. We are working with length 22.5, which I need 21 inches for the shoulder slope. So I extend those points. So after done with it, with that, I mark my wrist circumference, then I added 2 inches. On my elbow, I marked my elbow, and then I mark sewing allowance. Then on my cap height, I mark the measurement for that biggest area that way. Then I mark 1.5. So I have to reduce the sewing allowance I added to the elbow and the wrist. So after done with that, the next thing, you connect it together with your ruler. So after done with that, now then the next thing, now you cuff your hand. You draw your cap height cuff. So if you know how to make a basic, if you want to know how to make a basic sleeve, I have a link below this video on how to do this, because I have that video on this channel. So that is the reason I don't go details on this. So now the next thing, you put this aside. The next thing, now we cut our flare. To cut our flare, we'll be needing little mathematics. We need little calculation. So the little calculation I'm talking about is that we actually supposed to cut our waist circumference in 2 places. So in order to achieve that bogus flare, but this fabric is not enough. Because of that, I just use this method. I divided my waist into 2. So I now add whatever I get back to my normal waist measurement. Like our waist is 26 plus 13, the half of it. So we now got 39. So I now use 39 divided by 6.28. So what we got is 6.2. So that is what I'm going to be using for my skirt. So that is how I achieve this one. So the next thing to do now is that I'm telling us you can cut your waist circumference in 2 places. That is the best method to achieve this style, the down part of this top. But because the fabric is not enough, so that is the reason I divided my waist into 2. So now whatever you get now minus your half length, so your radius plus whatever that remain after you have minus your half length now. So mine is my half length. After I deduct my half length, the down part is 10 inches. 10 inches now plus 6.2 inches is gave us 16.2. So that is what I marked. Then I fold it into 2 places. So that's what I have now is 4 pieces. I have 4 pieces here. So that 4 pieces, I'm going to fold it over again. You can see the way I fold it. So all I have here now is 8, is folding into 8. So what I'll be doing, put your tape measure this way, then mark round the 6.2 inches. So I'm marking to 6.25. So after done with that, so you place back your tape measure like that, then you mark the length needed for your flay. So I put back my tape measure on that pointing part, then I continue rotating. Just make sure your tape measure is on that pointing part for the accuracy purpose. So after I might have marked it finish, the next thing I'll be cutting this upper side out. This way, you cut it out. Since we are making a bogus dress, I don't need to reduce half of an inch from that upper side of my flay. So after done with that, now I'll be cutting it at this flower side because I really want that flower to match with the front part of our blouse. I really use that area. So after done with that, guys, I'm trying to cross check what I really got at the end of the day. I got 42 inches. I now discovered that 42 inches will not be okay. So though I didn't say I don't bother, I continue. Maybe after some time, I will still reduce it. Let's continue working. If I will need to cut out of that flare, I will let us know. I won't do it off camera because it's part of what we need to learn, because I'm just doing that method for the first time. So here are my pieces. They are well ironed. As you can see, they are my pieces. They are well ironed. So I will go ahead now and stitch the shoulder together and bring it back. So here I am done with stitching of the shoulder, as you can see. So the next thing now that we'll be doing, I will just place my tape measure from the one side of the waistline, yes, because our shoulder started from the waistline. Then you measure it across the length. So here I got 41 inches. That 41 inches now is going to be the length of the collar we are using for our top. So now I'm going to be cutting 4 inches from these pieces. So it's in two, this pieces is in 2 places. Yes, but I will be using this side. Yes, it is enough and more than enough. So as you can see, now I will just go ahead and cut out this. So after done cutting it, this is what we got. I have gone ahead and joined it together. So what remains now is to, as you can see, I have done cutting my stay as well. So the next thing now is to put the shiny part of your stay on your fabric, on the wrong side of your fabric. Then you go ahead and iron it with teeth. So after done iron it, this is what I have. So I have folded one part of my collar. You can see that is going to be the part to conceal our seam inside. So this part I'm touching is going to be the side that will be joining with my fabric. So see, as you can see, I have marked the center middle of my dress. Then I'll be securing it with office pin as well. As you can see, I'm going to sew it round that way with half of an inch. So after done stitching it, then I have gone ahead off camera, then notch it round. Then the next thing now, I will just trim out the seam. I will trim it out small, like 1/4 of an inch. So after done with that, now the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to go ahead and conceal my seam inside my collar. So I'll prefer to sew it from the back. Yes, because I wouldn't like my thread to be showing at the other side. So guys, you can see I am done stitching it. See how neat and beautiful it is now. I haven't ironed this. See how beautiful it is. The next thing to do now is to mark half of an inch from the edge of the front part. You see the part that I marked? Yes. Then trim out that half of an inch. If you look at it, you will know it's half of an inch that I trim out from my fabric. So after done with that, now the next thing now is to go and stitch the both sides together. I meant to put my strap now, but I want us to learn something. I don't want to confuse us. I want to do it one after the other. So the next thing now, to join this, you mark the your bust circumference at that area. So whatever remain, you divide it. You see the way I folded my tape measure? You fold it this way, then you share whatever remain evenly at the both side of your dress. You see the way I'm sharing it? Yes, you share it into two. The same thing applicable to your waist. Then the next thing, you go ahead and stitch it. So I'll be using these pieces to cut my straps. So I have here with me 1.5 inches by 9 inches. The wideness is 1.5, then the length is 9 inches. That is what I have here. Then I will be cutting 4 pieces for my strap. Then I will be using this particular fabric to cut the big belt, and the big belt is 7 inches wideness, and the length, there's no particular measurement for that, depend on the client you are making it for. So guys, I have done sewing and iron it well. Then I close one part, then I open one side of it. So that one aside, then for the big belt, I mean, you can see how I stitch it very lovely, and it's well ironed. So the next thing now, I will go ahead. So on this main body now, this is my left side. So on that left side now, the first thing you do, you mark 2 inches upward that way. After done marking it, you take one of the strap. The opening side is going to be the side you stitch with your fabric. Yes, that is why it's opening. So you stitch it down that way. When you don't stitch it, you flip it to the front, then you top stitch it with your fabric. So after you don't secure it with stitch, you come back to the inseam of your right side, then you mark 1 inch upward, because we are using half of an inch to stitch the down part with our top. So just place it that way, then you run a stitch over it. Then the same thing applicable to the remaining 2. When I'm done stitching it, I will bring it back for us to see. As you can see, so I am knotting the left side inside, because that is the part that is going to be the inside. You see what I just did as I'm doing it. So look at the other side. You can see from this side now, I also marked 1 inches upward. Then also at the side, I marked 1 inch. You can see I open my seam, then I push it inside, I stitch it together. So that is what I just did. So if I'm trying to explain, you might not understand. That is why I went ahead and stitch it before bring it back. So the next thing to do now is to add the down part of our dress. So after done with that, we go ahead and iron it. So here is our well ironed with lining, everything circle. As you can see, we have top stitch and iron it well. The next thing now is to trim out the lining that is there. After done trimming, the next thing now, I will go ahead and still stitch my lining with my flare. So after done with that now, the next thing now, you locate the notch at the middle of your flare, then with the center back of your dress, then you align it together. Don't forget the part that is going to be inside, that is the left side. I won't be putting any lining, any pleating there. It's going to be pleating free. That is how I'm going to do it. So at the back, the center back, I will be putting a kissy pleating. So at the both side, I will also put pleating on the back darts. the both darts are the two darts at the back. I will be putting pleating there. So it's only the front that I won't be putting pleating. That is the part that is going to be inside. So for the right side of my top, I'll be putting pleating as well. So guys, when I was trying to make my pleating, I discovered that my flare is actually small. You know, I told us we need to cut two flare of our waist. We don't need to cut our waist circumference in two places, sorry. So now I decided to mark 1 inch at the top of my flare, then I cut it out. That is what I just did. So after done with that, this is what I got. It enabled me to make my pleats. You can see that is the kissy pleating at the back of our dress, then another pleating on my dart point. So after done with this, guys, the next thing now is to mark your circumference at your wrist, and then also on your waist and at the upper side of your sleeve. Then you connect it together. You go ahead and stitch it. After done stitching it, same thing applicable to the second sleeve. Then you go and fix it in. Then I'll be bringing it back for us to see. So we are almost done. I'm trying to trim out all the linings coming out of on my armor side. So after done with that now, okay guys, we are almost done. Our top is almost ready. Let's see the outcome so far. So now I will go ahead and serge the inside and my armor. I will go ahead and weave it. Yes, weaving and serge is the same thing. So now guys, the next thing is go ahead and iron it well. As you can see, my dress is well ironed, and you can see all my pleats, they are well laid. You can see there's pleating at the front, but the inside one, I didn't put any pleating. So after done with that, the next thing now is the bigger belt. You can use machine to stitch your bigger belt, with your blouse, so that it won't get lost. So guys, now I thank you everyone for watching this video to the end. Hope I will see you in our next class. Bye bye. Thank you.